Okay, today's lesson we're going to find equations. Four lines, and I'm going to give you just different scenarios. You have to connect two equations. So let's just talk about our forms. We had slope-intercept y equals mx plus b. We have general form we've learned about. And today we're going to learn about point slope. So it's going to go like this: rise x minus x1, and then run y minus y1. Okay, so you'll notice that when we do equations, you always have to leave the x and y open because you will fill in infinite many points on your line. Because you have infinite xy's on your line, you must leave them open so that those can be filled in. Okay, so here's an example that I will give you that the slope is 2/3 and a y-intercept of 7. So if I gave you that information, which of these three methods would you probably pick? I would probably pick slope-intercept because I gave you slope and the intercept. Okay, so if I just ask you for an equation, that would be great. Okay, if I asked you for, so that's slope-intercept. If I asked you for general, what would you do? Okay, if I asked you for general, then you would just do algebra. So I am going to times everything by 3. So if I times this by 3, if I times this by 3, the 3 on the bottom goes away, and 21. Okay, and then the point of general is to move everything to one side and to have 0. Just technically speaking, it's just a small little math detail. They often like to have the x positive, so I'm just going to move that over. So 2x, and then it would be a minus 3y. Okay, obviously it doesn't matter which side you have. You can just flip-flop them around and say all that equals 0. Okay, and if I had asked you for point slope form, so your rise would be 2, and your run would be 3, so that's for my slope. So we're going to leave the x and the y's, and the x1 and the y1 would be any point you could plug in. So if I know this is a y-intercept of 7, what would the actual point be? I know the point 0, 7, right? So I'm going to plug in 0 here and 7 there, and then remember that the formula says to minus them. Okay, next example. I'm going to give you that the slope is -5 and y-intercept is -3. Okay, so again, if I had a choice, I would probably pick slope-intercept form. Y equals -5x minus 3. If I was to pick general form, then I have to just move everything to one side. There's no fractions, so that's good. So I'm just going to move that. So 0, oh, actually, I don't like this negative x. So I'm going to move that and that. So 5x plus y plus 3 equals 0. And then point slope, my rise, my run, right? Because the slope is -5/1. And that's an x and a y. And I'm going to subtract a point. So again, if you have a y-intercept, your coordinate is 0, -3. So subtract 0, subtract a -3. So really, you don't really need to write the 0. You don't really need to write the 1, but you should change that into a +3. Okay, next. I'm going to give you a slope and a point. Okay, so if I was to pick, I would pick point slope form. So I'm going to be using rise over run as my slope, and I'd be using the coordinates x1 and y1. So -5 goes there, 8 goes there, x and y leave open for other points, and we're going to be subtracting a -3. So we're going to actually add 3 and subtract 11. So whatever your coordinate is, your point, you should see the opposite in your formula. So that would be the end. If I did happen to say general, then you would expand that all out. And then you would move everything to one side. And like I said, technically we do like to have the x part positive, so we'll move it there. So 5x plus 8y. And then we would have to add 15 to put with that -88. So -73. So that would be general form. Okay, another example here. We'll do this as our last example. I'm going to give you 2 points. Make an equation. Okay, so you'll notice that it didn't matter, like kind of whatever equation we seem to be working with, this one or this one. The only way to get this one is to have one of those first and do algebra. So you always, no matter what, you always need the slope. So first thing I'm going to actually do here is calculate the slope. So do you remember it's the rise, the difference in the y's, the run, which is the differences in the x's. So 11 subtract 7, -3 subtract 2, which is 4 over -5. Okay, it doesn't matter in that case. It just needs to be a negative number. One of them needs to be negative. So it doesn't matter. Okay, so this is my rise. This is my run. Okay, so I'm going to use point slope form. So 4 goes there, -5 goes there. Okay, and then at this point, it doesn't matter if you're going to plug this coordinate in or that coordinate. So I could have gone like that if I plugged that point in. Or if I had plugged this point in, I would have a +3 there and a -11 there. So it doesn't matter. If you tried to FOIL these both out to be general form, they should say the exact same thing.